Stephen,
Andrew.
do you fancy spending a quiet night inside number 9?
Oh, go on then.
We're wrapping up Series 8 of Inside Number 9.
Like a delicious Christmas gift.
Yes.
But also unwrapping.
Unwrap. I think, probably.
I know we unwrapped. We spent the last 6 weeks unwrapping.
Now
we're going to wrap it
back
back up again. Ready for next series.
Ready
like a repeat gift. Yeah.
Pass it on to somebody who's not heard it before, watched it before. Yeah, perfect.
That was a weird start.
Very weird start. It's quite difficult to know how to start these episodes because they don't have any obvious structure. So
I thought you were going to say point then.
Well, there's a bit of that as well. This is, I guess, our chance to revisit the episodes of the series and to pick up on correspondence we've had throughout the series. Nice things we've heard from listeners and other people that have been watching. So I think we'll do a bit of that. It'd be quite a casual episode.
As opposed to the formal ones.
A very formal, usual approach.
I usually record in a tux. I don't know about you.
I do, yeah. You know I do.
Well, of course we do. We can see each other.
Yeah. So, I reckon we'll start with a bit of general correspondence about us, about the show. Nice things that people have sent, just some shout outs. And then we've got some questions to answer.
From a friend of the show.
From a good friend of the show, especially been very vocal this series. And also some listeners have sent some questions in as well. So we'll get to those as well. Just want to say thank you to people who have left iTunes reviews. For the most part, we don't actually ask for them. I've learned not to ask for them because I
think you get them.
Yeah, I think it's like, yeah.
I hate to nitpick, but it hasn't been iTunes for a while.
You're right.
If you start asking people to leave, maybe that's why we haven't had any for a while, because you've been asking people to leave reviews on iTunes. They'll be going, what is this? What is this outdated product?
Just getting 404 errors. So firstly, thank you to Rats Dominoes for that lovely review that they left on Apple Podcasts, as it is now known.
There you go.
Who's managed to get his wife to watch Inside Number 9.
I noticed that it doesn't suggest that he's managed to convince his wife to listen to the podcast as well, though. That feels like a bridge too far.
Yeah, that's true, actually. They're only working their way through the series together, not the podcast.
Well, try that next.
Yeah. I think she'll like it.
You do say so yourself.
And then the other review that we've had this series, so we've had 2. So I'm quite glad we don't get many.
One's good.
Well, one's it's a sort of mixed message that I don't really know what to do with.
So you're just going to share it?
Yeah.
Tell us what to think of this.
Patty Pally. They're getting better. Good people with a fantastic attitude. They simply do not think quickly enough to keep the conversation dynamic. So,
that smacks to me of A for effort, D for execution as well.
Yeah. Don't give up the day job.
God loves a trier, is what that says to me.
It's really good attitude. Well done. But you're not great. Come on, guys. And then some really nice people tweeting to, like Freckly B tweeting our podcast as an alternative to those missing the official podcast. Obviously, it's absolutely no substitute. But it's, something, isn't it?
I like that we started this podcast because no one else was doing one. And then the only other people to do it were then the creators of the show. And then we've outlasted them.
I've actually, I think there are some more now.
Oh, are there?
Yeah, I've noticed a couple of others.
I've noticed a drop off on our numbers, so I assume it's because there are more.
It must be because there's other
We've got
alternatives for
competition.
people to go and listen to. Yeah, there's a couple that I've seen, which is great. So yeah, I'm glad people have taken us up on the challenge of, providing something.
Well, maybe that means this is it. This is it. We're now surplus to requirements.
Yeah, our mission is complete.
We're getting better, but we never quite made it. We'll never be dynamic enough.
Never. It's a shame. Gareth as well. This series has flown by. Thanks again. It's funny for a show that is supposedly all about the twist. I find them to be some of the most rewatchable TV shows ever. I just added a thank you.
You know when you see little kids wearing those t-shirts that say, I didn't say thank you, but I meant it? Is that what you've just done?
I've just done that. Shout out to AQNIN9, a great companion podcast.
No, thank you, Gareth.
Thank you. I can't believe that I only discovered your podcast last month and I've binge listened to them all. Kudos to you both for such thoughtful and funny discussions of each episode and dynamic. I added that bit. Made me go back and watch each episode again. So that's great. That's kind of what I don't know. I feel like that's what we aim for. That was the point, Yeah. Yeah. And Gail as well, who's a long time listener, over the years now, who also recommended.
Is it over the years?
We started 2020, didn't we? So
that is outrageous.
Yeah. I know. Oh yeah, Ian. Did Ian email us? I've done a terrible job of organising the correspondence because we've had emails, YouTube messages, and tweets, which sounds like it should be quite manageable.
Ian Shaw.
It's only 3. Ian Shaw. Sure.
It's one of his favourite TV shows ever now. The podcast's been an amazing find, along with the Inside Number 9 subreddit. Pretty much the only place I can check my ideas about the show against other people's. That, I think, was the other thing, wasn't it? Is that we didn't have anywhere to go and compare what we thought with what other people thought. And that was the point of this, because no one else was.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of like, and I think in terms of what we aim to do with the conversation itself is like provide something that is a bit like being down the pub with friends, just chatting about the show, rather than providing a very articulate, precise analysis
with artistic merit.
With any artistic merit, yeah. And plenty of people have commented on that being why they enjoy it. So really appreciate that. And it, I don't know, to me reminds me to keep doing it like that rather than to feel like we should do it any other way.
So. Stop trying to make us dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm not dynamic down the pub. I'm not going to be dynamic here.
Me and you, we've never had a dynamic conversation.
The undynamic duo, that's what they call it.
Yes, and Michelle comments on the welcoming atmosphere we give to the listeners. Feel like old friends, not fanatical, but realistic and honest about each episode. That's nice. That's a great review. I like that.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Right. Shall we... Actually, we've got a segue here into some questions because Katie Beer, who got in touch via email, also said some very nice things and had a question. So she's a university student who's basically just been binging everything, the podcast, the episodes, the podcast, etc. And for her question, she was wondering if we had any people that we listen to talk about the show on YouTube or other platforms other than the Inside Number 9 podcast. And she would personally recommend Wheelin' on YouTube. I do like
Wee Lin. I like
yes.
Wee Lin, and I think we've mentioned her before. I remember. I think I first came across her when we did our 12 Days of Christine episode. And she had a really good breakdown of that.
That video is perfect. I love that video that she did for that.
I don't know about you. I think I'm always conscious of listening to too many podcasts about this. One, because I think then watching this program, talking about this program, and listening to things about this program would become my life if I consumed everything that's out there about it. But also, I don't want us. It's the reason that we never listened to the Inside Number 9 stuff when it was released, because this then just becomes a regurgitation exercise where all you hear from us is what other people think about these episodes, and I don't think that's what people wanted, and so that's why I haven't really delved into the wider community really.
I think especially before doing our reaction episodes or our first watch episodes, you kind of want that pure reaction, like without the influence of other people's opinions and stuff. Even though, I mean, to some degree, you listen to other things or you read other things and you think, okay, that's been said, so I won't regurgitate the same thing. But you always end up doing it for some reason.
Because the seed's planted, then, isn't it? And you can't actively ignore it, because then also you might deliberately avoid things that.
Yeah, exactly.
You think
there are going to be things that everybody sees in a similar way. Yeah, and actually, if you are a listener listening to different podcasts, it's going to be interesting to hear people's reactions, if they haven't been, influenced by one another.
So if you want to have your own original thoughts about this program, I suggest you stop listening to this podcast immediately. We're toxic.
In a dark room on your own. Yeah, but the other two that I've come across, I had a little listen to, I think, The Scapegoat and Ninthly is the name of that one. And Unleash the Ghouls was the other one that seems to be, doing more than just a one-off. There's a few podcasts that have done like one-off episodes about Inside Number 9 in general, but those two seem to have been doing sort of episode by episode breakdowns. So, check them out. But don't leave us.
This town is big enough for the two of us.
For the three of us.
For the three of us. I'm happy to live in peaceful coexistence with other creators making. That was the point. Yeah, me too. I find it stressful to see our podcast in a chart. I don't like it. Yeah, it stresses me out. So, other questions. I thought maybe we can at some point rank the episodes, because I know Reese loves it when people rank the episodes. So I thought we could do that maybe. Well, I know what that bus episode would have been number one.
Sean, yes. Just wanted to ask what your overall thoughts for this series were. We cover that. Which was your favourite guest performance?
Well, have we?
No, we will.
Oh, we will. Right, I thought you said we had.
No, we
will.
I
thought I just blacked out.
That's the whole sort of point of this episode.
Say, we haven't done that yet.
We're blacked out.
I've blacked out and woken up, and I've just recorded 2 hours.
Which was your favourite guest performance, and which was your favourite Reese and Steve performance? So let's go for those two questions, and then, because we've covered that first bit.
No, I want to do that one again. This, on reflection, I think was a stronger series than I initially gave it credit for, which is weird because I think I enjoyed every episode I was watching them, but felt like it was not up there. I don't know whether it was just watching Bones of St. Nick again that made me go, "Oh, that was a good start."
Yeah.
That I remember first watching that around Christmas time and thinking, that is an episode of Inside Number 9.
It was a great episode. Yeah,
it's so good. It's got everything that's great about Inside Number 9, yet it felt original. I like the sort of the echoes of the past and the future stuff that was something a little bit new. No, I thought that was a brilliant start. It was nice to have some new stuff, some new ways of playing around with audiences, sneaking the kind of audience messing around with people's heads just in the middle of a series, as well as the whole theatre aspect of teasing and trailing an episode that never even existed just to mess with people. That, I think, was kind of, it took it up a notch. Like they knew it wasn't enough just to release a bunch of episodes anymore. Let's add a layer into this where we're pretending we're going to release stuff. We're slipping in fake game shows. Just, it added something even more.
I think it has. It's been actually, when you sort of reflect on it from like retrospectively, it's like, actually, it's a brilliant series, and it's really done something different. And I had exactly the same thought of, maybe trailed off slightly. And then I went back and looked at what we'd seen. And it's like, no, it hasn't at all.
And not just seen, just experienced.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what's planted that in my head, other than maybe it was the kind of the fact that you had the first episode way back
so long
in December, and then I don't know, maybe it felt like a little bit of a bits and pieces series.
Well, so I remember last series, the first episode we initially thought was a bit, there were some questions around that first episode, weren't there? The one in the boat.
From us, I don't think anybody else had.
From us, everyone else loved it. But like I know we kind of felt a little bit, something was a little bit off at the end of that. And I think that actually Mother's Ruin for me was probably the weaker one of this series. And that was what felt like the proper return of the series, because Nick almost felt like it was on its own as a Christmas thing. It didn't necessarily feel like it was part of this series, but I think when we're thinking about the series as a whole, we have to factor it in. But Mother's Ruin, for all the sort of the fun and the positives in it, it did feel like a slightly weaker return. And then it kind of, I don't know whether that kind of then clouded everything a little bit. But now when you look back at this series as a whole, great.
Yeah. And maybe even the 3x3 thing, like kind of psychologically, it's like this series is not quite complete because Hold On Tight it wasn't.
And there was almost a break in the middle that week where there wasn't a proper episode and there was some game show shown by accident instead.
Yeah. And I think, but somewhere in my mind is like, I think I've soaked in those people who keep saying, I really want to watch Hold On. I was really looking forward to that episode and they haven't shown it. It's like, it doesn't exist.
Maybe it is a feeling of incompleteness of the fact that it's 5 episodes in the run. And one of those, it didn't feel like you were sitting down to watch an episode of Inside Number 9. So actually, we've only had 4 episodes.
Yeah, we're owed this run. So many more.
We're owed. I'm owed a bus.
Owed a bus.
I'm not owed a bus. I don't want to see it. I've seen that clip of Reese speaking about the bus episode
with Richard Herring.
Yeah, it's cropped up on my various feeds a couple of times now.
It's like, we're not getting
a
bus.
Then.
We are not getting a bus.
What happens? Anyone can stick a number 9 on a bus.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Favorite guest performance?
Possibly the lady in Love Is a Stranger.
Claire Rushbrook.
Yeah, I think that might be it, because that was such a big guest appearance.
Yeah.
It can't be Lee Mack, because Lee Mack was just Lee Mack. Lee Mack wasn't a guest performance. Lee Mack was just playing Lee Mack on a panel show. I think her.
Yeah. Yeah,
because she was such a focal point for the episode. She carried the whole episode through.
Yeah.
But there was such a lot of depth in half an hour to that character that you felt sorry for her despite the fact that she was chopping men up.
Yeah, it's an incredible performance, and like so, as said in that in our response episode to that, the fact it's so rare to have those straight performances inside Number 9. You know, even if you have a fairly serious character, there are sort of caricature elements of them, but she was so just straight and really beautifully acted.
Yeah,
and unnerving and empty and like longing. Like there's just so much to that performance that.
And I think that the sympathy you felt for her, I think it was genuine sympathy. And I think that even knowing what happens at the end, I don't think that changes how I watch that episode. I think I still feel sorry for her going through that episode and watching her go through those dreadful palm dates. Yeah.
It's,
really good.
It's a
really
sort
strong.
Of a grim episode. I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's an episode that I will watch a lot, but it's a really good episode.
Yeah. Even knowing that you saw the twist coming a mile off.
Yeah, and that didn't matter. And we heard from a few people who say, you know, I did see it. I think I did see that coming, but
yeah, like
it really doesn't matter.
It didn't matter because you were still. Yeah, I think you almost get to the point where, and we've done the inside Number 9 twist, not twist to death. So there's nothing new here, but you don't only enjoy things that confuse you. You don't ever get to the end of a film where you don't get to the end of a historical film of events that you know how they unfold and go, well, I knew exactly how that was going to end, so that was dreadful, was it? You don't. That's not how enjoying things works.
Yeah. Well, it becomes so gimmicky, doesn't it? Otherwise, like if it becomes just about the twist, the twist becomes this sort of novelty, like thing that you're just after. The craving becomes more and more.
Go on then. What's it going to be? How are you going to get me this time?
And it's an insatiable thing that then just becomes ridiculous.
You become so attuned to it, and the writers would have to think, well, they've seen this, so they'll think this. Yeah, so they'll probably think everything. This, and we're now on our 7th layer of where we think the audience are going to go with this, and that would not be enjoyable to write. It would not be enjoyable probably to watch by the time you'd finished unpacking it all.
And it ends up being very contrived.
Yeah, massively.
You see that in a lot of, like, you know, the kind of detective thriller crime dramas and things like that, where it's just like there's no point trying to guess at the beginning because this is all about the guessing. Like the whole purpose of this thing has become to try and, you know, trick the audience.
Well, and also I think part of the rush of that kind of reveal is the moment that it is revealed. And if you know you're going to have the rug pulled out from under you in about 30 seconds anyway, then you're probably not going to respond.
Yeah.
It's essentially becoming like VAR and not celebrating goals because you know they're going to be offside anyway.
Yeah.
You lose that moment if your first thought is that, well, that's not how this is going to end anyway, because I know in 30 seconds it's going to change.
Yeah.
It'll be the same deal. You're like, well, okay, well, there's no gasp of realization there of that was what it was. No.
Yeah.
It'll be okay, that's what I think it is, but I know in 35 seconds
that's very
it's going
true.
again.
Yeah. And the thing is with all of those things is it's always going to be disappointing. Like even if it's a great twist, you're always going to feel that sense of like, oh, that's it. Like I know now. Yeah. And there's something about not knowing that actually is what gives you the enjoyment. And then it's a bit like finding out how a magic trick's done. And when you sort of see a magician do an illusion or whatever, and you're like, I really need to know how the hell is he doing that? Like, and then you find out it's like, oh, right. And actually realizing the enjoyment comes from the not knowing is quite
Schrodinger's magic.
Well, it is that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of need to know in order to sort of bring the thing to a sense of completion.
Mm-hmm.
But you also need to realize that is going to be a moment of deflation.
Going to ruin it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like finding out that Santa Claus isn't real. Sorry, guys.
And that's what I think is so good about Inside Number 9. And who was it that said about, like, you know, even though it's about the twist, it's not about the twist. I can go and rewatch them over and over again. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you can. Like, there's some. It is, you know, you think about some. Like, I rewatched like The Killing, and while there was some stuff that was quite enjoyable, just in terms of like atmospheric aspects of being in, I don't know, Denmark or whatever, I don't know, there's some nice aesthetic stuff going on. It's not the same. It's not as enjoyable. Like,
the thing is, I know you can't have rewatched that recently because it's sat on my shelves in my lounge.
What, my version?
Yeah, your version, yeah. I still have
is it?
Yeah. You've been wondering where that is. It's in my lounge, and it has been for a number of years. And I still haven't got around to watching it.
I've never watched it.
I haven't got around to watching it yet.
It's good.
There we go. New series.
There you
new
go.
Podcast. I'll be interviewing Steve as he goes through The Killing for the first time. So what do you think of episode 1? Yeah.
Treat. Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, don't watch it twice. No point in watching it for a second time.
Ruins it.
Yeah, so we've got some more questions from friend of the show, ChatGPT.
Oh, here he is. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fresh from his lawsuit in the States.
That's it. So a good solid start to the question. I asked for 10 questions. We might not get through them all.
10? Especially when most
10?
of the...
I think I asked for a selection.
I don't think it cares what you asked for. The thing is, we're going to spend most of the time breaking apart what the question is rather than actually answering it.
Probably, yeah. But the first one's pretty solid. Which episode of Series 8 stood out to you the most, and why?
Different ones for different reasons.
Okay.
That's not the end of my
Second
answer.
question.
Can you type that into the chat part? See what it responds with. So obviously, it's a Nick episode 1, good old horror. But the fact that it did introduce some new stuff in there was nice. Yeah. 3x3, just for like the whole. That for me isn't necessarily really about. It's not about the story with that one, really. The story's all right, but it wasn't about it. That was almost like a piece of like overall performance of art.
Yeah.
That was all about drawing the audience in and the online discussion and all that kind of stuff that they enjoyed so much from Deadline. I thought we'd try and put it again.
Yeah.
Obviously, the bus one was great because it didn't exist. That was a real standout.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And Love is a Stranger. But just the performances and just being an all round.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, because it was brutal.
Yeah,
the last weekend was brutal, and it had and I think there was that question before about favorite Reese and Steve performance, and I think that was my favorite Reese and Steve performance because they sold that at the beginning of the episode. They sold that relationship really well, not just in terms of selling it as a thing that was going to twist later, but them as that couple. I thought was lovely and tender and really nice until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that was what made that so good.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that is both of their best performances. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. That's definitely a standout for me. That end, just horrific. It's the worst death that you can imagine. More or less.
ChatGPT, what are the top 10 worst deaths you can imagine?
I don't want to challenge that.
as a robot, I can't imagine anything.
Yeah. I think everything had little moments, didn't it? Because Mother's Ruin, obviously pop
the goriest thing.
Pop a pot on the old leg.
I threw up.
You threw up. Yeah, as you've told us many times that you were.
I even wrote into
sick.
the Daily Mail to let them know how disgusting I thought that was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bones of St. Nicholas as well. Like, just a fantastic episode. And as you said, like, it's that twist on the ghost story and kind of playing with that idea of the apparition rather than the ghost. Like, going back and rewatching that, I was like, oh, this is still causing some questions.
The music was so good.
Brilliant.
That was one episode that I thought the music was just outstanding. It was creepy. It was creepy again. I mean, I must have watched that episode 3 or 4 times now, but it was still really creepy.
Yeah. The atmosphere they create in that is just so good.
Yeah. And I'd forgotten a lot about it because it was so long ago since I did watch it. I'd forgotten. I knew that there was him kind of, I'd remembered that he was seeing things that actually turned out to be him.
Yeah.
But I hadn't remembered how that kind of played through.
Yeah. I'm still like questioning whether the ghost story that Dick tells is Steve.
Oh, he was a good guest character as well.
He was great. Actually, yeah, he was up there. Yeah. But yeah, whether that experience 5 years ago was also Jasper.
Okay.
It's a big question. I just wonder how long has he been stuck warning people? But I don't know.
That's another conversation for another episode when we rewatch Series 8 and go for our second trip into the onion. Yes. There's a phrase we haven't said for a while.
We haven't actually. We've avoided all onions this series. Second question. How did you feel about the range of genres explored in this series? Did you have a favourite genre or episode? You've already asked about the...
I liked that there were lots of different genres. That's my...
Very good.
What
there was a range of genres within... So you think about Mother's Ruin, there was 2 genres.
That was gangster and necromancy.
What would be the genre? I don't think necromancy is a genre.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is. Have you not been into your local Blockbuster lately?
I've not. I've done neither. Gone into my local Blockbuster
and looked up the necromancy section
before downloading something from iTunes onto my iPod.
Oh, it's a real throwback episode. What was that come into? The occult.
Yeah, a bit of horror, thriller. Don't know. Creepy.
We can't even give them a genre, let alone tell you which our favourite one was.
Yeah.
Occult thriller, gangsters. An occult gangster thriller.
That's a good genre.
Thank you. It's I think you'd struggle to slot that into a DVD collection that was arranged by genre. I tried doing that once. It was a mess. I tried to think of ways that I could kind of... Were there films that sat in nice intersections between genres? And it was a nightmare.
Was it?
It was. Never try and do that. Stick with your alphabet.
Yeah.
No interpretation there.
Or colour.
Colour?
DVD spine colour.
Ooh.
Because I always...
Did you go like through the rainbow?
Well, because I always remember I don't have any DVDs anymore, actually, but...
Mine are all in the loft.
I used to always remember where a DVD was based on... Or I would remember like the color of the spine. So I'd be looking for that spine.
Did you find that easier to remember than the order of the alphabet?
I'm not very good at remembering the names of films, but I can remember the color of the film that I want to watch.
I mainly see in color. And hear in colour. I said, what do you mean you mainly see in colour? Of course you mainly see in colour.
Unless you don't.
Unless you don't. Because it's the 1950s. And everyone only saw everything in black and white.
It's dark times.
But also light times. So.
Depend. Yeah, of course. Yes. Monochromatic.
Yeah. Other genres.
I mean,
13.
Ghost Story. Oh yeah, Paraskevidiophobia.
I'm not saying it. Well done. What's that?
Like
therapy.
Therapy. Self-help.
Necromancy. If you go into your local. If you get Love Film to deliver you a disc based on your favourite genres, if you put therapy in, that will all be there.
What will?
Paraskevidiophobia. The one about 13. I don't know what genre that is.
It's kind of, again,
farce.
There's
it was
a bit
farce,
of farce,
isn't it?
Bit of comedy. Yeah, black comedy.
Like this is apparently this is a black comedy anthology.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, ChatGPT, black comedy.
That's my favourite genre.
What else was there?
Game show.
Game show, that well-known genre.
Family entertainment with a maybe moment
exploding
or two
heads.
Of not family friendly.
Exploding heads. That's what that genre. Not many films in that one. Scanners, some zombie films, and this.
And then
Love is a Stranger, I guess, is a crime thriller, isn't it, really?
I suppose it is, yeah.
I think that's pretty straight up. That's one of the more straight up ones.
Yeah.
And then
The Last Weekend is it's almost like it's
a bit of a thriller, isn't it, really? It's a murder mystery crime thriller thing.
But it doesn't,
really
it changes though, doesn't it? Because it doesn't, I mean, it is that, but it doesn't start as that. It starts as a bit of a sad romantic rom-com, really.
Sad romantic is not what rom-com means. Rom-com is possibly the opposite of rom-sad. Rom-trad. Rom-tragedy, rom-comedy.
Yeah.
Sad rom-com.
Sad rom-com.
Like
horror.
P.S. I Love You. Then into horror.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, ChatGPT, I feel great about the range of genres explored in this series.
There's loads of them.
There are so many.
Things you didn't even know were genres in the first place.
Yeah. Were there any specific twists or surprises in Series 8 that particularly impressed or surprised you?
Last Weekend. Horror death.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, I think
there weren't many more Twisty McTwists, were there? It's
3x3 being an episode of Inside Number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the twists were great.
And that's why they listen to this.
Yeah, great twists. Question 4. The episode Lip Service was performed entirely in rhyme.
What?
What were your thoughts on this unique storytelling approach?
I don't know how to answer the question.
Another lawsuit against ChatGPT. But there's two things wrong with that question. Well, no, maybe more than two things.
It wasn't Zanzibar.
Lip Service wasn't in Series 8.
True. Good
Lip
catch.
Service wasn't performed entirely in rhyme.
Those are the thoughts I have about that.
Okay, question 5.
We've got 6 more of these questions to go.
No, because some of these are actually really repeating themselves. Were there any standout performances or memorable characters from Series 8 that you particularly enjoyed? I think we covered that.
Yes, there were.
Yeah, there were. Guest stars. Favorite guest stars, we've covered that.
Did you have to be specific and ask for 10 different questions?
I mean, to be fair, that wasn't a question from chat. That was.
Oh, was it not?
No.
Sorry. That's how good this AI is, that it asks us questions that it knows the audience will
actually
ask.
Want the answers to. As is the next question. So, Wuthering Heist combined elements of a classic literary work with a heist narrative. Do you feel the combination worked well? Or did it feel forced and disjointed?
What?
To ask a loaded question. We know what ChatGPT thought of Wuthering Heist.
I'm pretty sure forced and disjointed was the review of our podcast episode of Wuthering Heist, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was. Loads of ums and ahs, and these guys can't string a sentence together, which is evidently still true.
So this wasn't about Series 8. It combined a literary sort of discipline, I guess, with classic heist movie, but not about this series, so irrelevant.
Yeah, no, we need to move on from that fast, otherwise we will lose listeners rapidly.
This isn't about this series. I'm off.
Were there any overarching themes or messages that you picked up on while watching Series 8? Communication. Big one.
I'm interested to go back and watch. So I watched Speldelder today and noticed a picture of a bus being coloured in. I need to go and look harder for buses and see if there are more buses in this series hidden throughout it.
Interesting.
Tell us if you've seen a bus in any of the other episodes, but the granddaughter was colouring in a big red bus at the table. So now I'm wondering. So I saw that and thought, I wonder if there are more buses hiding in this series. Or maybe that was just a little one-off subliminal plant, that little seed in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe. I mean, this is tenuous, but maybe buses.
Buses. I mean,
lack of a bus was the theme here.
Buses have been talked about quite a lot during this series, whether they appear in episodes or not. I think it is a theme. I was thinking about. I can't. It's really useless right now, because there were threads that I noticed as we were going through the series at the time, and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, shall I see you in 3 hours when you've had a chance to watch it all again?
Yeah.
Ask ChatGPT, were there any threats?
It might come to me as we're talking.
I'll tell you what, if we just pause there, I'll just pop and listen to a couple of Wheel In episodes, see what someone else thought.
So now we've watched those Wheel In episodes. What do you think?
That quite well. No, none the wiser.
No. Question 9. As a viewer, how would you rate the overall quality and enjoyment of Series 8 compared to previous seasons of Inside Number 9?
Do you want to rank the seasons? I don't think I could rank the seasons.
I think that's a really difficult thing to do.
I think I've kind of been over the fact that it was a really, really strong one. Stronger than I think we initially gave it credit for. It's difficult at this point. They're all... There hasn't... Right, I'm going to just say there hasn't been a weak series.
No.
As far as I'm concerned. I cannot think of a series where I would consider that a weaker series in all. Well, I don't think we've ever got to a wrap-up episode and gone, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
That has never happened, does it?
I don't think so. No. Not with a
So
no.
even episodes, I think we clutch a bit to find weaker ones.
Yeah.
And I know when we first started doing the wrap-ups, we did talk about our least favorite episode, and I think we decided in later series that not to do that because it felt like a really weird way to frame
something
things.
We are talking about that we enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason we keep coming back to this, which is that it's consistently strong.
Yeah.
And even though I'd say I think Mother's Ruin was my least favorite of this series, I wouldn't say it was poor.
No.
So no, another strong series.
Yeah, totally. And I think where you rate the overall quality compared with previous seasons, it would be up there in the same way. Yeah, as you said, like I think every series has at least one or two episodes that you're like, wow, yeah, they've absolutely nailed it there. And I think that's the same with this series. In both episodes themselves, like, you know, Last Weekend, Bones of St. Nicholas. I think Love is a Stranger. And then as episodes themselves, and then there's obviously the 3x3 experience. Like, there's just, they've done well.
Well done, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great work. If you could ask the creators or the actors in Inside Number 9 one question about Series 8, what would it be?
Have you ever considered doing episodes set on a bus? Would be my one question.
And you know the answer to that.
How do you manage to fit so much into a half hour? No.
Who really writes these episodes?
Yeah. ChatGPT. Did that deer throw itself onto the track because of something you'd seen?
It's about Series 8.
Oh, it's actually about Series 8.
Yeah.
Not 2. I don't know.
Did Dick see Jasper 5 years ago?
Okay. What do you think they'd say?
They wouldn't answer it, I don't think. They don't really talk about the content of episodes, do they? The sort of story aspects.
Yeah, even inside Number 9 didn't really do a lot of that, did it?
No, and I like that. I appreciate that. I think that's kind of...
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I think it's good to hear them talk about how episodes were created and where ideas came from and things like that. But like in terms of the meaning of stories themselves, like I like it when creators don't spoon feed that to you, which is what makes, you know, podcasts like this possible, because you get to speculate.
Oh, that was one that we didn't like, wasn't it? What was the name of that episode? Series or two back.
Yeah, Thinking Out Loud.
Thinking Out Loud, that was it. Yeah, that one was one.
There's that moment in that when there's too much explanation. Yeah.
Spoon feeding
turned out to be not necessarily their decision or desire to do that. When we sort of have a reference to that? Was that in this series? Where it felt like there was a little bit too much explaining of something.
I know what you mean.
Or maybe it was paraskevidic triophobia. Was it? I'm not sure.
No, I remember you saying it.
Yeah, it could have been that.
If any of you can remember. We just record these things and throw them out there.
I'll never go and re-listen after I've spent hours editing them. Yeah, that's the end of Chat's questions. Yeah.
Cheers, ChatGPT.
Thank you, Chat.
He may or may not be back again next series. Depends on whether it's been taken offline.
Yeah,
or maybe
might have taken us offline.
It may have taken us offline. Deemed us unnecessary to the future of the internet.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably true.
We'll be the real victims of Skynet's overthrowing of the world.
Yeah. To finish, there's a few people's correspondence around particular episodes, so we could just run through each of those quickly. Again, nothing for paraskevidikotriophobia. No one had anything to say.
Oh, just flexing those muscles again.
Yeah, there you go. Say it fast. Bones of St. Nicholas, Lizzie got in touch, said, I'm listening to your podcast on the Christmas episode and have one thing to mention. Well done for saying dick and relief rubbings in the same breath without laughing.
Oh, good work.
Thanks, Lizzie.
That's the sort of correspondence I like.
That's what we like. I'm glad people notice that kind of thing.
That's what we want in an audience. If you haven't sent us an email like that, shame on you.
Yeah. Jasmine on Mother's Ruin. Honestly, one of their best. Love how they portrayed the brothers' relationship, particularly that resentment you feel for someone who you haven't seen in years, but you still love them.
I'm sorry if I've been disparaging about that episode, Jasmine. I hope I haven't damaged your enjoyment of it.
I don't think you've been disparaging. I think you've just been honest about the fact that it wasn't your favourite. I don't think that means it wasn't good.
Not my cup of Rosie Lee.
Hey, no. I haven't gone back and rewatched that actually.
That was it. That it was the over explanation was the Cockney rhyming slang.
You're right. Yeah,
got him.
That was it. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, that was it. It was
when she kept giving the actual words.
Yeah, just a little bit too much of the explanation there. Yeah, true. Patrick, sit down. Said.
Didn't
think the plot was great, if I'm honest. No real meaning for anything. Fantastic acting as always, though.
What was that one for?
Mother's Ruin.
Okay.
And Anne said, just noticed, ruin means rotten building too. So when Mrs. Blackwater was sitting on a fortune, it could be hidden under her rocking chair.
Her ruins.
Just where the parrot looked at the floor. What accent did Fran and Reggie have? That sounded so American.
No.
No, it wasn't. It was proper Cockney.
You could be forgiven for thinking that Reese's accent wasn't proper Cockney. But you can't fault Phil Daniels. I was about to say Paul Daniels then.
You can't.
Phil Daniels' proper Cockney accent. That's what people from the East End of London sound like. All of them.
Every single one of them. I'll take that out. Love is a Stranger. And again, it was a little strange that the news never mentioned that the victims of the Lonely Hearts Killer were men. Even if only body parts yet to be identified were discovered, their sex is obvious from DNA analysis, and the men, not the women on the dating platform, would have to warn each other. Vicky's music reminded me of Felix's piano theme from Lip Service. It had the same mood to it whenever she gets disappointed by one of her online dates. Yeah, that's a really good shout.
That's ruined the episode for me, though.
What because
you're right.
Yeah, I did think that because it's like another body has been discovered.
You'd have thought that putting that information out, you would be wanting to make sure that the right people were fearing for their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, because the fact that they know they know it's the lonely. There's a Lonely Hearts killer. Because that's referred to through the episode, isn't it? Like from the first date, there's someone targeting people on online dating platforms. So if you know that, you'd probably also know what sex people are targeting as well. But yeah, we'll overlook that. It's fine.
Creative license.
Sian thinks her favourite of the series was Love is a Stranger. The whole concept, the performances all involved, the lighting, the atmosphere. And although I did guess that Vicky was the killer, I did have doubts that I was right, and the whole story was still thoroughly engrossing. It reminded me slightly of one of Roald Dahl's short stories called The Landlady, and the way the story evolves from one thing and then becomes something else.
I haven't read any grown-up Roald Dahl.
No, I haven't. No. Watch some of the... is it Tales of the Unexpected?
Oh, did he do some of those?
Yeah. I think it's Tales of the Unexpected.
Well, some of those books don't end the way you would expect either. The kids' ones.
No.
I read My Little Girl, the Enormous Crocodile. You know how that one ends?
I think we've had this conversation.
Have we?
Yeah. How's it end?
Yeah, possibly. It ends with the crocodile.
Spoiler alert. Wait.
It ends with the crocodile being thrown by an elephant into the sun.
It's like a rush at the
and he threw him into the sun.
Yeah, threw him into the sun.
That was a tale of the unexpected.
That's almost like he was babysitting and he was like 3 hours late putting the kid to bed, and the parents got home. He's like, he got thrown into the sun.
And they got into a lift and it exploded through the roof of the factory. The end.
And they lived happily ever after. You know what happened to the boy who got everything he always wanted? He lived happily ever after. It was great. Everyone was happy. Yeah. And Isla, Love is a Stranger, another episode she didn't guess the ending to, which is good. And I'm glad about that. I'm glad that is true for people. Seems I'm almost the only one who didn't guess it in advance. Or you're the only.
To be honest, that
person.
makes you lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still got the thrill of the twist.
Yeah, and she lauds the fact that they highlight the issue of online dating for women, misogyny, etc. By the way, I remember thinking Reese looked a smidgen like Michael Fish in that episode.
Yeah, I guess he does. Yeah.
More to the point.
Some people have contacted me saying there's going to be a storm. There isn't.
There isn't. It's going to be fine. I thought one of the daters sounded like he'd been through some kind of Andrew Tate How to Be with Women course.
That was the last victim, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. Episode 5. 3x3 / Hold On Tight. Rob just listened to the latest episode. Great stuff as usual. Thank you, Rob. I think Catherine feeds her dad Hawaii as a wrong answer purposefully to freeze him out of the game. She wants to ensure that her mum, that she gets her mum in the box.
That's a good idea.
So that she can do her big finish. Yeah, thought it was a fair shout.
Yeah.
And Rob, if you're listening to this, Nindle, do bring it back. I know you thought no one was playing. I was playing.
I love that there's just one or two visitors to that site every day.
Yeah, it's me. I was always there. It was part of my my duel sort of regime every morning.
Duel regime.
I had Wordle, Wildle, Nindle.
Hurdle was good for a little while until Spotify bought it.
Hurdle.
And then got rid of it.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of it.
Did they?
Yeah, they've cancelled it. So they hoovered it up, took the soul out of it, and then binned it.
Well done, Spotify.
They could have just given it back.
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it? I think they ruined it as an experience. Like it was better before they bought it.
That's what I mean. It could have just been handed back to the original creators, going, "We actually don't want this anymore.
We don't know what we're doing with this, guys.
We've rinsed this numb. Have it back."
Yeah.
Awful.
Matt was too busy trawling social media, wondering where his bus episode was to watch or listen to it properly.
Matt.
And then felt had, and how can this be passed off as an episode? I feel like that's the first of a little exchange I had, and I haven't got the rest of the exchange. But I think I seem to remember having a conversation with Matt, who came to really appreciate the episode and enjoy the fact he was had. I might be wrong. He might still be resentful and annoyed. I will keep talking as Steve looks up this particular tweet exchange.
Oh, it was a tweet exchange.
I think it was a tweet exchange. Mark left a message on YouTube saying, as an engineering worker on manufacturing the famous London double-decker buses, he was really looking forward to the Hold On Tight episode. And it was a bit anticlimactic, to be honest. Yes, I can imagine that was disappointing. It must have been disappointing if you were really looking forward to that. And sort of settling in for the evening, and then you didn't get it, and realised then the episode was never made, and they have had you.
So he said he felt disappointed and cheated at first, but then he rewatched it and enjoyed it immensely. And I think that was the thing with that episode, was because I was slightly behind. And so my experience of being had with that was flicking in and out of iPlayer, trying to make it work properly, thinking that iPlayer was broken. Properly had.
Yeah.
I assumed it was, yeah. And that was just part of the fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was completely had. Yeah. With my getting into bed, I'll watch Inside. I probably might not even stay awake for the whole thing. And then,
ladies and gentlemen, the premiere Inside Number 9 podcast on Apple Podcast. I might watch it. I might not even stay awake for the whole episode. I'll give it a go.
I did stay awake for the whole episode in the end, but I missed half of it because I was like, again, I was like flicking between channels, like what?
Busy being had.
Yeah, I was busy being had. If you know what I mean. Trevor blamed everyone in the house about series linking a Lee Mack quiz and searching the iPlayer and thinking someone had put up the wrong show.
I love the idea that Trevor sat down on Friday evening for his usual check-in with Inside Number 9 and just started raging around
recording this bloody Lee Mack quiz show.
What is this? What have you must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
Oh
man. I don't know if they foresaw sort of domestic arguments going on.
Just utter rage. Head, who's been messing with the series link box?
And fair play. You think about Lee Mack. Lee Mack must have received, not sort of literally, but in the hearts and minds of people that evening, a lot of
what the fuck is Lee Mack doing on my television screen?
Exactly.
How many people thought that? Which is
I did.
Which is horrible for him.
Exactly.
Imagine knowing that that's what that many people were thinking at once. What the fuck is Lee Mack doing on my television screen right now?
I would rather be watching a bus than Lee Mack.
Yeah. What happens on the bus?
What happens on that bus? And Shane from Georgia, he's got in touch a few times. It's great to hear from Shane. he says I think our podcast is a help. He says it's a help in filling a few cultural gaps for him. I'm glad that's the case. I sometimes feel like we maybe don't do a great job of that, but
like a Babel fish.
Yeah. And he's got us a viewing suggestion for the two of us, a movie called The Vast of Night. Not an anthology film, but loosely related as it presents itself as an episode of a Twilight Zone type show. Worth a look if you haven't seen it. So check that out. We will.
Well, Black Mirror's back soon, isn't it? And that's basically the same as Inside Number 9.
Tomorrow, I think. As we're recording this, yeah.
You're not supposed to date.
I know. There's an error. I'll take that out. And Nadine, I think she sent us a message after episode 5. Some lovely stuff happening so far in Series 8. Of course, Hold On Tight 3x3 is an obvious standout, but for all the right reasons. For me, the ending has a similar feel to when Forbes McAllister got shot by Alan Partridge at the end of Knowing Me, Knowing You, because of the sudden shock of the crew and the panic that ensued after, albeit briefly before ending.
So when you suddenly switch sort of into that mockumentary style thing where you're filming behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Really great. And old friend of the show, Simon Woolley. Did you see his message?
I didn't.
An email. Glad you got the Fur Q reference. Thank you, Simon.
Cheers, Simon. Is that all it said?
In a similar vein, universe-wise, there are at 3 potential Alan Partridge references in there too. In ascending likelihood of being deliberate, 1...
This is definitely a Woolley email.
This is Simon Woolley. Classic Woolley. 1, Chester, where the 3 tenors come from, and where Alan's obsessive fan's brother-in-law does
Okay, ascending. I was going to say, that would be, if that was the most obvious link, I'd be worried for this.
Bobby Moore, as a wrong answer to a quiz question. Who invented the skip? And the Nutty Professor, the sequel, Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, is misfiled among Alan's Bond VHS tapes, which Lynn ruins by spilling Sunny Delight over them.
Who invented the skip? Bobby Moore.
Did you hear me say the third one?
No, yes, I did hear that one. Yes, yeah. I just gone back to that one because surely it should have been Nobby Styles, but that was more of a jig than a skip.
Very good.
But I don't. Yeah. I'm not sure how tight those links are.
They are, I think, very, very tight for someone with the knowledge of Alan Partridge that Woolley has. Yeah,
that's not Woolley knowledge.
That's not
pretty sharp.
Very, very tight knowledge. Simon Tight. And then the last weekend, there's a few messages around this. Rich, you're asking about baking soda in face masks. I assumed it was to encourage the beasties to eat his face. Regarding the cement, the chemical process, when it goes off, releases a lot of heat. So Chaz would have burned as well as crush injuries.
Oh,
I'm surprised he didn't wake up.
All right.
And Isla, again, just sort of encouraging us about the Scottish insects. She describes us mid-Gs, bloody awful whatnots.
They are awful.
They are awful. And yeah, she references she's just bought a copy of Chekhov's, I think it's Chekhov's comedy shorts on DVD, featuring Reese. There's a whole load of, I looked it up, there's like a whole load of interesting cast members of this.
Oh, really?
I think it's about 10 years ago or something.
I might look into that.
So she's referring to our, Chekhov's references, but I did think
we've been a bit light on the Chekhov's references.
comedy shorts. What happens to those comedy shorts?
I like the idea that at the beginning of the episode, there's just some very large baggy shorts hanging up somewhere.
Some Bermuda shorts.
They appear later in the episode as a payoff. In every single one of those little short films. There they are.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yes, and she's some other comments about other episodes, which thanks for that, Isla. And then I get to the end of what I've got written here. So I think that has wrapped up the wrap up, more or less.
Yeah. Ready for season 9.
Ready for season 9. And thank you so much to everybody who's been in touch. It's always great to have that interaction and correspondence.
That's felt like a lot this series.
Yeah. Too much? Do we want to rein it in?
Think twice before hitting send, guys. No. It's been the right amount.
Yeah, it's been great. And I think there's probably been more. And if you have sent something and we haven't read it out, I'm very, very sorry. It's got caught somewhere between the cracks of my
life.
I don't know where that sentence was going to end. But everything has been read.
It's quite a sweeping statement. Also, what do people do with that information? Just know that everything's been read.
Sorry, guys. Right.
Let's tighten this end up.
let's tighten this. We will do script books next.
Let's do script books next.
I need to get script booked for series 4 to 6.
I imagine if you order it from a soulless online delivery company, it could be here tomorrow.
Could be here immediately on a Kindle.
Or that. But you can't then write all over that, and you enjoyed writing all over your last one, didn't you?
I did, actually, yeah.
I'll do that on a Kindle. Not in any way that doesn't make it a horrendous reading experience.
Sort of changes every book that you read on your Kindle from there on in.
I've made some notes.
Great. Yeah, we'll do that soon. So
good. I like it. Nice and vague and non-committal.
I don't want to commit to dates. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for listening to this during Series 8. It's always great to have you with us. And we will speak to you again very shortly, hopefully. All
Very vague and non-committal.
I felt like I was getting a bit too
you are
committed.
Next week. Not next week.
No.
A week.
At some point. Great. All right. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.